All right. So like I said, I had a special treat for you tonight, and we just watched a video of a guy named Trenda. Just so happens that that guy is right here, and he's going to speak to us tonight as a Kaleo crowd. So would you guys just give Derek a warm welcome tonight? Yeah. So I just wanted to tell you guys a little bit about my relationship with Derek. Derek was actually he was the guy who hired me here at the church almost 2 years ago, and I got to do middle school while he was doing high school ministry, and he was just a mentor to me and a friend to me, and he still is. And so I really wanted to give Derek an opportunity to share with you guys, because he shared something in the video that I think needs to be reiterated to you, and it's sort of one of the reasons why I asked him to speak. And the reason is this, because there are some of you in here that I believe that, like I said about the name Kaleo, that God is calling you out, and he's saying you could make a difference in the lives of some middle school or high school age students. Like you could be someone who is instrumental in bringing them to Christ. And so I wanted you to get a feel for Derek's heart, because Derek has a heart that's just after God's heart. And I wanted just to put that challenge out there to you, because youth ministry is always looking for young, energetic people who love God and who will help show teenagers how to love God. And so I just wanted to welcome again Derek, and so God's got some amazing things to say to us through Derek. So with that having been said, Derek Trenda, guys.
Hey, thank you, Gabe. At first, when I knew Gabe was doing Kaleo, I was really excited for him, and then selfishly really not, because I like Gabe. I don't know about you. I just really like the guy. He is the guy that you would just meet on the street, and you'd be like, I don't know, I'm going out on a whim here. You want to come over and hang out? You seem like a real likable guy. And I appreciate Gabe, and it's been hard for me to not do ministry. I mean, we're doing ministry together, but to not see him in youth ministry all the time. But I know God's using it to expand his kingdom, so I'm good with that. So I'm just going to pray for us, and then we'll jump into it. So Jesus, we thank you for you. Thank you for what you're doing. God, I pray, Lord, that you would use tonight for your kingdom. Lord, that you would grow your kingdom in this place, Lord. And I pray that my words aren't with wise or persuasive words, but a demonstration, Lord, of the Holy Spirit that's at work within this place, so that their wisdom might not rest on men's wisdom, Lord, but on yours. So we thank you, Jesus, and we love you. Amen. Well, I have to say, it's been a little bit since I've been to college, but I think it was just last year. I think that was it. I think I was just there last year, but it seems like a long, long time ago. Not really, it has been. Just a short time, like a decade. And I went to CSU personally, so I when I see all the students come back to college, I'm not even going to college, and I get the butterflies. I just think about all you guys that are going back to college, or even the freshmen, when you have, I like to call them surprise roommates, where, it's the lottery and you don't know who you're going to get, and it's a surprise. Sometimes it's not so much a surprise, and you're kind of bummed out, but that's okay, because I'm sure God will work through that. So the Lord be with you. So, but yeah, I just remember college was this exciting time, and I remember even in my life as I was in college, I could think through where I want to go, because it was the time where it was almost like, it's time to get serious, Derek. Come on. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where you're going to make an impact. And this is your training ground. Now go get them, And I'm just walking to school like this, and just so full of life. And man, I really wanted my life to count. I really, really wanted my life to count. And I think of several ways that I could make an impact on the world. And sometimes when I was trying to decide on what major I wanted, I think I had like 6 majors before I finally picked one. So those of you who changed, don't feel bad. You can always compare yourself to me and be like, at least I'm not like that guy. But I remember I wanted my life to matter. I wanted my life to make a difference, to make an impact on the world. Because I think this thing deep down inside of me is I wanted to love people. I wanted to love them, and so I know that through that you could make an impact. And one thing, as I was looking at the different things that you can do in the world to engage in society, there was a consistent theme amongst all of the things that you can engage in. And that consistent theme was love. I just saw this as this concept, in a sense, where it wasn't, it kind of was love, but then I kind of saw it as like the hippie kind of love. You know what I mean? Like, what's up, man? I love you, you know? And it's that like, wow, you're not even on this planet. And so I was trying to figure out, well, I knew love makes a difference, but it felt like hippie and more like world peace. Kind of, you know, how the heck do you start? Where do you even begin? I mean, I don't even know. But I know I need to be motivated by love, and I saw a lot of others on campus really, truly trying to love other people. And I really do think it's very honoring. We're on to something. There's a path that we see, and I think this is why a lot of us, causes are a really big thing, right? Like the latest cause is, I can't even say it, but it's where you get the cold water dumped on you. You know what I'm talking about? And yes, I'm out of it of sorts, so I don't even know what it is. But I heard about it, and I just can't describe it. I've got a bubble in my head, and I can't think. So for what it is, I hope you know, but you get cold water dumped on you, and everybody loves to be a part of this because it's a cause. It's in a sense, loving other people. And so as I'm trying to think through it, but as I would go to class, I would consistently find it difficult to love other people. Go figure. So it was easy to love the people I liked, but I didn't love the people I don't like. That makes sense, right? I'm really smart, by the way. You'll find this to be true as we continue. But if we look at our culture, we really aren't really a loving culture, are we? I mean, we're really, I look out there and we really, really, really try to be, and we have good intentions to be, but why is there so much evil in this world? Why is it getting, in a sense, sometimes it feels worse. Sometimes when you turn on the news or you look at what's happening, you're like, something's just not right. Something's not right. In fact, the last week on Saturday, I got a call from a mom, and she let me know that she knew this lady who is trying to take over. She's trying to help her because her son, who is 12 years old, his name was Isaiah, at Orchard Mesa, had committed suicide by hanging himself. And as I was processing through that, I begin to, again, it's all those feelings and emotions inside of you of going back to my time where I was moldable, and which I still like to think I am, but maybe not as much because I'm older, but where I could really make a difference. Because that bothered me. And when I was in school, I graduated in 99. So that was when the Columbine shootings happened. I was familiar with that piece. And then all because of that, throughout high school, there's a bunch of anti-bullying programs that were created. But yet in the midst of all of these campaigns or programs that we put in place, there's still this issue that we have that people are still even ending their own lives. And they said one of the things is that people were bullying him. And some of the kids in the middle school over where I spoke on Sunday, they shared that. And so I'm like, God, how do I make a difference? I mean, it just seems like this love that we're trying to do isn't enough. So what can I do? I mean, what program can we start? We have the right mission, but I think if I studied it as I thought through life, the problem is we really don't know how to love. And when I mean love, I mean more the authentic love, not the fabricated love. And I see two loves in a sense, that there's this fabricated love that we really get deceived in a sense. We could call it worldly love. I like the word fabricated, it seems to stick better. But it's this worldly sense where it is fabricated love is a knockoff of the real thing. it's almost like, has anybody seen one of those knockoff iPhones? You can get them on eBay for $100. They are the opposite. I tried one. They're so the opposite. I got ripped off so bad. But they are so the opposite of what a real iPhone is. I can't even begin to tell you. But it was so bad. But if we look at it, fabricated love says, I love you if. It's conditional. It says, I love you if. Think about it, how we use it in today's context. I was just saying how I love the Cafe Rio. I went there last night. Oh my gosh, you haven't eaten there? I love that place. I love that place. Until the day you get a bad product. And yesterday, for some reason, they didn't want to put a lot of pork in my pork barbacoa burrito, and I was so upset. I go, oh no, I've told all these people how great this is, and it's not, because I had one bad experience, right? And it's this piece where oh, come on. I mean, then I just lost a little love for it. If we think about popularity breeds and thrives off that. Everyone or a lot of people like the person who is popular. You remembered what it was like when you were in high school and middle school. That was a big deal until your freshman year hit, and you're like, wow, I don't even think anybody knows anything. But it's still happening, right? And as we get older, it becomes like more like power and prestige. It just has a different name. But when we look at it, it's that I remember somebody made a comment, and we were listening to this band. I go, oh, I love this band. It was Phillips and Phillips. And I go, oh, I love this band. And they're like, yeah, I knew them before everybody else did. And I go, come on, there's no way you did. You know, it's that piece of, okay, you liked them, or if we think about if you love someone, right? Think about if you have some significant other in your life, you love them, right? So let's say you eventually get married to that person. And let's say that the person sits around and literally does nothing. In fact, they're sitting on the couch you bought. And they don't actually earn an income. They don't earn an income, and they don't clean. They don't do the laundry, and they don't cook. They just feed off you. Everything that you do. Now, for some of us, I think you have to be honest with yourself, and you would be like, I like you. It would move from love to like, and then it would move from like to hate. Because if we're honest, it's kind of based on condition, isn't it? I mean, they have to do stuff. Otherwise, it's like, hey, what? This doesn't make sense. So our love, our sometimes fabricated love, is a knockoff of the real thing. It's conditional. It's conditional. So we have to look then, okay, if you're talking about fabricated, then what does authentic look like? That's the next logical question. What does authentic look like? What does it look like? What is it? And that's where we jump into the scriptures. We continue on with 1 Corinthians 13. And this is where Paul, again, is addressing his church, addressing a church. He is addressing followers of Jesus, people that call themselves Christians. And Gabe just finished up with saying, like, here's what the spiritual gifts are all about, right? And that was in chapter 12. And if you want to follow along in 1 Corinthians 13, it's the chapter of love. And if you've ever been to any wedding, this has probably been spoken. Or some type of love event. 1 Corinthians 13 is huge. In fact, we have a cross in our bathroom when we wake up in the morning about love. Because when I wake up you wake up, I'm like, hey, my lovely wife, and sometimes you don't feel lovely in the morning, and you look at the love thing, and okay, I'm going to practice loving today. And and we go through this. But here we go, is that Paul's really saying, look, all those gifts that I talked about, it should exemplify love. It should exemplify love. So let's get into it. Verse 1, if I speak in tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I'm a noisy gong or clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but not love, I am nothing. If I give away all I have and deliver up my body to be burned, but if not love, I gain nothing. So he's saying, look, if you're a palm reader, you tell people their future, whatever it is, doesn't matter, whatever your talents, whatever your abilities is that God has given you, if you don't do it with love, it's absolutely worthless. If you think about it for a moment, you come in and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna do something and I want to change people, and you do something amazing. They're like, wow, good job. And then they go home and be like, what's on TV? It just doesn't do anything. There was no impact to be made. They're like, wow, he said a pretty cool thing. I don't remember what it was, but it was cool. And then we go on with our lives. So again, if we have all these talents and abilities, it's nothing if we don't have love. Verse 4, love is patient. He begins to talk about what this authentic love is like. And he says, love is patient. Love is kind. It doesn't envy. It doesn't boast. It's not arrogant or rude. It doesn't insist on its own way. It's not irritable or resentful. It doesn't rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices with truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. If we think about it for a moment, love is hard to describe, isn't it? Has anybody asked you, think about the person that you love the most, and I want you to tell me how much you love them. And you start, just kind of working your body language, and you're like, I just love them, or you do a Napoleon Dynamite, yes, I don't know what you do, but you just get amped, you get motivated, and you just say, I love them so much. I would take out a loan for them. I would get not only a number at McDonald's, I'd supersize it. I would, you just try to think of all these crazy things that you would do for this person, but it's really hard to describe, isn't it? It's really hard to describe love for a mom, brother, girlfriend, whatever it is. And so this is what Paul is trying to say. He's like, it's like this, but I'm only human, and I can only tell you what it's like because there's one day when I'm going to experience it in all its fullness. But I've gotten a taste of what it's like, and this is my best way to do that. Because God, if you think, is indescribable. There's nothing that we could do to describe how great he is. If we could, then he wouldn't be God anymore, would he? So he's saying it's like this, and this is the best way I can say it. Verse 8, love never ends. As for prophecies, they'll pass away. As for tongues, they'll cease. As for knowledge, that'll pass away too. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part, but when the perfect one comes, the partial will pass away. Again, we have some partial love, but that fullness of love will be experienced through Jesus. For now we see in a mirror, verse 10, but when the perfect comes, the partial will pass away. When I was a child, I spoke like a child, I thought like a child, and I reasoned like a child. And when I became a man, I gave up childish ways. For now we see in a mirror, dimly, but then face to face, when we see Jesus again. And now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I have been fully known. So now, faith, hope, and love abide, these three, but the greatest of these is love. So our new mission is loving people to Jesus. I think we had our other mission was we knew love was going to make a difference in our world. But what's going to make a greater impact in our world is loving people to Jesus. The greatest thing that you can do in your life is to love people to Jesus. And I'll spend the rest of the time telling you why. And why do we say Jesus? Because through Jesus, we have access to God. Jesus sent his only son so that we can have a relationship with him and we can tap into the source of love which is God. And God's love, here's the thing, God's love is unconditional. That means that you did nothing for him and he loved you. You kind of were that person that sat on the couch and didn't earn an income and didn't do anything. But he loved you. He loves you. And here's the thing, what I love about pointing other people to Jesus, we're not trying to convert anybody. I'm not trying to convert anybody to anything because it's not about me. I want to push you to him because I know that if you experience his love, then you will be fulfilled. That thing inside of you that's so desperate for this one thing that you want, called love, he has it. And that's why I can't point people to me, because I'm going to fail them every day. But if I can point people to Jesus, love never ends. It will be this continual flow. Psalm 34:8, it says, taste and see that the Lord is good. We want to point people to him because they'll taste and see how good he is. Now, on the flip side of this, you guys are probably thinking, oh, God, Derek, you just talked about that hippie freak guy who's like, hey, man, let's love everybody. And that's what it sounds like you're saying. Now, it may sound like that because when we love people, we're like, there's problems in the world. And when you love someone, right, you want to fix things in them, don't you? You see the flaws in them. Just, like sometimes I see in my wife, right? Because I don't have any. And so I'm like, Bridget, hey, and my wife is sitting over there. Hi, sweetie, I love you. I'll do the laundry tonight, I swear. But see, the thing is that when we see this, it's just like, for Bridget, is that out of this perfect love, is that I know that as long as I direct them to Jesus, he'll work on them. Because my love's conditional. I mean, think about it. Have you ever been involved in life change in the life of somebody? You ever mentored or discipled somebody and they don't change? You get frustrated? Because it was about you. It wasn't about God and what he wants to do. It was about you and your agenda. And you'd love them until they'll change because your love is conditional. It's fabricated. So it doesn't mean we're accepting that everything, we're just going to accept everybody, good or bad. And that's not what I'm ultimately saying. But what I am saying is let's point even the things that are happening that are terrible in our world to Jesus. Let's point those people to him too. And let him work through them. Because there's one thing I know about being a dad is I try to do what's best for my kids. But I don't have God's eyes. I can't see into my children's future and be like, I'm gonna discipline them lovingly to this. The Father knows all of us, and he knows what's best for us. And he loves us so much that he wants only the best for us. Don't you want the best for other people? I do. And so I want to point them to him because the answers that I'm going to give them will fall short. So what does this mean for us? What does this mean for you? Loving other people is the greatest fulfillment in your life to Jesus. Loving other people to Jesus is the greatest fulfillment. There's nothing better. Why do we want to be directed to Jesus? Again, because Jesus is the Son that taps into the Father. It says in 1 John 4:16, so we have come to know and to believe the love that God has for us. See, when we're followers of Jesus, when we're Christians, we come to know that love. We come to understand it on a deeper level every day. And then it says, God is love. He is love. He's not like love, or there's not an imitation of him. He embodies it. He is everything that is love. And whoever abides in God and God abides in him. See, God is the inventor, the creator, the author of authentic love. There is no other way you can get it other than through Jesus. There's no other way. If you tried it, you don't have enough. You'll run out. In fact, I had an issue with somebody, and so they called me and we're like, we kind of worked it out, but it's not fully worked out. And I mean, I really had a tough time today loving them. My first gut reaction was anger, rage, and frustration, so I wanted to throat punch them. But I couldn't do that, so I was like, Jesus, help me love. I mean, you can just see the faults in me. I don't have enough to make an impact in the world that I want to make an impact for. The greatest commandment, Matthew 22, verses 36 through 39. They say, "Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law?" And he said to them, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment. Love God. And the second is like it, love other people." So there you go. We know we have to love God because Jesus understood this. Tap into me, tap into the source so you can overflow your love into others. Think about it personally for a minute. The way you view other people. When you walk down your college campus and you're walking through college, how do you view people? Do you walk down and be like, weirdo, freak, like, I'm afraid, or insecure, whatever it is, right? I mean, how do you view other people? And see, when you're already loved by Jesus, you don't need to, this is what my mom called my girlfriend in high school. She's like, she's a leech. My mom was a very loving person. And she really is, okay? I love you, Mom. But it's just like she was like trying to suck love from me, and I'm like, I don't have it all, And but it's just like you need to tap into the source because it's going to run out here soon, and I'm not going to love you. I'm going to not like you. In fact, I may say something worse. I may hate you. And but see, the thing is, we have to tap into the source. Think about the relationships in your life. If you think about your family, and maybe some of us, we realize we have messed up families. It's like join the club. Everybody, look at Jesus' family. All you have to do is read that story. And we soon find our family is tough to love, aren't they? They're sometimes the hardest to love. But see, the thing is that when we realize this, we need Jesus and we need his love so that we can love them. If I think about relationships in your life, point to your right. If you got a significant other or someone in your life, the more you can point them to Jesus. Let's say you're dating someone and they don't even know who Jesus is, and you do. Point them to Jesus. Point them to Jesus. The only reason I got so lucky with my wife is because she knows Jesus. I mean, let's be honest. I would love to say I'm this stylish, hunky-looking dude with chiseled abs, but I'm not. I don't have it. And the more I point Bridget to Jesus, the more she loves me. The more I point her to Jesus, the more her capacity to love me increases. And the more she overlooks my faults, my defects. And when I screw up, which it's been at least 24 hours, I know that she loves Jesus, and Jesus is going to give her the love to love me. Because there's going to be some times when it's tough for her to love me and for me to love her. But we have Jesus. And Jesus has kept us together for 11 years. It's the only reason. Is because of Jesus. And as long as we point each other to him, then we'll be okay. We'll be okay. Because we're tapped into this never-ending source of love that only comes from God the Father, who is the very definition of love. Think about when you walk on your campus. I remember the times we had this, it was called the Commons area, and all the hateful people were in the Commons area because it was, where you could freely hang signs. And I remember walking out of the library studying, and there's just a group of people, and they were just saying everybody's going to burn in hell. And I'm like, what is your problem, people? And you can't reason sometimes with people like that. They're so sometimes wacko jacko. So I'm just, I'm so frustrated. I'm just angry inside. And so I'm walking by, and again, the consistent theme of throat punching comes to mind. And so, but I'm like, wait a minute, that's not love. I want to make a difference. I want to make an impact. And so, I went home that night, and it was just in my room, and I was just like, God, help me love people like that. Because they're just destroying our world and the image of who you are. Help me love people like that. Because I would love to tell you guys that I walked out there and I was like, I am full of love. Come get it. Come get some. And then I just started hugging them, and I'm like, gee, I would love, but I needed to go back to the source, because I need to come back and say, okay, God, I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to love these people now. And that's okay, but we're going to the source, to Jesus. We're not always going to be ready. So what does this look like practically for our lives? Practical steps. I mean, it's all great that we talk about this, but how does this play out? So the first one is evaluate your love. Is it fabricated or is it authentic? Where does it come from? Where does your love come from? Where do you get it? Have you ever thought about that? Most of us, we don't really think about where we get our love from. You're just hoping for that next phone call to someone to call you and be like, you're awesome, whatever that is, or where are you going to get filled? And then the other question is, how are you loving other people? Second thing is, you can't. Pretty easy. I know that's one of the things we don't like to hear in our society, because it's like, you can do it, just put your mind to it. But that's not true. That is the biggest lie anybody's ever told you. It's just to protect your self-esteem. And but if we think about it, you cannot manufacture love. Have you ever thought about that? You cannot manufacture love. It's not possible. You can't manufacture it. Because why? You're not the source. Never manufacture anything where you're never the source. And the third thing is ask God the love that you need for today. Because Jesus tells us there's enough worries about tomorrow, and there was enough that happened yesterday. All you need to do is focus on today. So just pray that the love that you need today. My daughter, this last week, we took pictures. And DJ and Vanessa, who used to work in youth ministry, came, and Vanessa was like, hey, thanks for letting us stay at your house. Can I take pictures of your family, please? I want nothing, no charge, nothing. I just want to repay you for allowing you to stay at our house. And we're like, sure. So, of course, Bridget, being the awesome mom she does, do you guys remember family pictures? And I'm not talking about awkward family photos here. But so we did wear different shirts, not all the same color. So we picked them out. And of course, Cameron, she's 8. She's in 2nd grade now. She's was just throwing a fit. She's crying. She's like, I look ugly in those clothes. And I'm like, no, Cameron, you look beautiful. Like any good dad. And I'm like, oh, come on. Like, I don't like family pictures as it is. So it's like really hard to get motivated for this. So I'm trying to be the motivator, and Bridget's doing her hair, and she's just like, she's just really throwing a fit. I'm like, what is going on? And then throughout this fit, and she goes, and my teeth are crooked. And that just struck me. And so like any good dad, I totally bribed my children. I said, we're getting candy and ice cream, so just smile. Let's do this. So we got to take pictures. There's smiling happening. And that night when we got back, we usually pray for our kids, and so just kneeling by our bed, and God was just put something inside of me. Again, because I'm not, love just doesn't pour out of me. I need it from the Lord. And so he goes, I want you to ask the teeth question. So I talked to Cameron and I said, I go, well, what, who told you about your teeth? And she said, this kid in 4th grade. And he also made fun of my spoon and fork. And she has this little compartment, you put it together so she can have her lunch. That's cool. And again, I wanted to ask, what's his name and where does he live? And I just want to love him to pieces. And with the love of Jesus, oh, I just want to love that guy. And of course, you know, I had to just say, okay, God, what I want to say is, Cameron, you know what? I'm going to pack a taser in your lunchbox, and when he says something, you can tase him. And he'll learn, you know. But again, guys, do we want to see a better world? Do we want to see a better world? I do. And we can't do it with the love that comes from us. It's just not going to happen. We have to do it with us authentic love that we get from Christ. And so I told her, I said, Cameron, I go, who made you? She goes, God. I go, yeah. I said, do you think God makes mistakes? She kind of got hung up on that a little bit because like he's the father and she looks at me and I'm like, okay, let me help you with this a little bit. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't make mistakes. In fact, he created you just the way he wants you to be. And as a father, like this was just the love. If you could see the flow, the diagram, it was coming from above and then out. And so I said, you know what? You were made perfectly in God's image. He tells us that. And he loves you. And in fact, he loves your teeth. He made them just the way they are. And he thinks, you're beautiful. See, the thing is, as a dad, I want to be a hero. I wanted to be like, Cameron, you know, I love you, you're beautiful. But we can't be the hero. And if we want to save this world, God has to be the hero. And so what I had to do is point her to Jesus, because there's going to come a day where I'm dead and gone. And she's going to question that again. And she's going to need to tap into the source, because when I go, so does my love. But God's love will never end, and it will always be there. And it will never leave her, and it will never forsake her. Love never ends. I love that. Never ends. So as I was sharing with her, it's like, guys, I think when we go through this, we have to realize that if we're going to make a difference in the world and speak into others' lives and make an impact, because you guys are all on the verge of developing your lives to go out into the world and make a difference. But if you don't do that with the love of Jesus and point other people to Jesus' love, it is all for naught. It's worthless. It's nothing. Because it'll run dry. It'll run out. And there's not enough to go around. But with God, there is. You know, as a pastor, I've always struggled with acceptance. I've always wanted to speak so eloquently and be like, yeah, I want to make an impact. And I used to get bogged down when I did a terrible sermon or whatever it was. But just a week ago, I just spent some time with the Lord in the park, and I was reading this love chapter, and he just kept telling me, he goes, Derek, I want you to try your best, and I want you to do your best at at speaking, because you work for me, and I want the best for you. But I want you to know right now, you are accepted. I love you. I don't care how bad your sermon is, because it's not about you. It's about me working through you to change the lives of other people, point other people to me. And as long as you've done that, you've succeeded. So put your fabricated love aside and let people taste and see the goodness of the love that comes from me. So that's what it is. Our greatest thing that you can do with your life is to love other people to Jesus. It's all we can do. And let God take care of the rest. Because when you love other people to Jesus, you can freely love because he has filled you with everything you need. You don't need to tap into any source from anyone because he's giving you everything you've ever wanted or desired from him. So if Kaleo means to be called, then we have to be different from the world that you're going to engage in about 10 minutes. So when you go back on your campus and you leave this auditorium, evaluate your life. Are you tapping into the source? And when you're tapped into that source, freely love other people to change the world. So Jesus, thank you for you. I thank you that we don't have to be heroes. We can just be somebody that's special in your sight. And that everyone here, God, is called to love other people. We don't need to search anymore. That's it. That's our mission. And however we do that, whether we're a firefighter, engineer, doctor, you're going to work through us. God, I want to see change in the world in which we live. Help us do that. Help us love, God. Download into us, Lord, the love that only comes from you. Thank you, Jesus. Amen. We're going to jump into just a response time of responding to God. And so some of you, that might be standing. Some of you, singing to the Lord. Some of you, you need a download of love tonight. And so if you need prayer or whatever, it doesn't even have to be anything I've mentioned, please get prayer. Please get prayer. There'll be people standing over here to my left, your right, who would love to pray for you and pray that you would sense and feel and experience the authentic love that God gives.